Story 1. Realizing the difference between when I actually made a mistake and when someone is taking their frustrations out on me, and then asking what is actually wrong, because this is not a proportional response to the issue. Story 2. Slowing down at work. I do not need to respond to every email right away or keep everything constantly up to date. Some things can wait. Story 3. I stopped commenting on political articles online because too many pointless arguments really ruin the day. Story 4. I would not say that it has made me drastically happier. Feeding and watching my birds bring a peaceful joy each day. Story 5. Undressing as soon as I get home from work and swapping that worn-out uniform for comfortable, soft clothes really helps me relax and makes me smile just thinking about it. Story 6. Okay, these are really small. Wearing gloves while washing dishes. Wearing earplugs or noise-canceling earbuds and listening to an audiobook or podcast while vacuuming or drying my hair. Watching a favorite TV show while folding laundry. I tried to minimize the sensory discomfort and boredom of regular chores, and now I almost look forward to them. Story 7. This is very small. I started wearing my smartwatch to bed because I wanted to see what the sleep monitoring was about. Took a little getting used to, but I reached the point where I did not notice it on my wrist. I then realized I can set alarms on my watch that vibrate and do not make a sound. It is much more pleasant to wake up to a slight vibration on my wrist than to the noise of an alarm or the phone vibrating on my nightstand. I also learned I could do this for naps. If I want to take a 30-minute nap, I can quickly set a timer on my watch and feel confident I will wake up. I have tried to convince all my friends to do this, but they do not see any value in it. Story 8. I worked on my bedtime routine and now it's solid. I can fall asleep in less than 20 minutes. As an insomniac worrywart, it's been life-changing, and getting solid sleep has made me much less irritable. Story 9. Pay close attention to avoid becoming defensive during conversations with my wife. Story 10. I deleted Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I feel much more present, even though I still spend too much time online. When I walk my dog, I listen to sound baths and practice mindfulness. I try to notice everything. Different colors, how the ground feels beneath my feet, the breeze in my hair, and the way sunlight filters through the trees. I pick up interesting leaves and rocks to examine up close and feel them in my hand. I probably look odd, but I always return feeling relaxed, having given my brain a break from anxiety and stress. Story 11. I bake with my daughter a couple of times per week. We make pies, cookies, different kinds of bread, and more. We have so much fun doing it together, and we get to enjoy eating what we make. Story 12. I wipe my counters and put away the dishes every night, no matter how tired I am. The energy boost from waking up to a neat kitchen is not to be underestimated. Story 13. I do not drink during the week. The Friday buzz feels earned and deserved. Story 14. I found a friend who is interested in the same things as I am, who is intelligent and open-minded. At my age, this is quite an accomplishment. We go to lunch once a week and usually spend about 2 to 2.5 hours just talking about the things we love and sharing ideas with no politics or gossip. I am immensely improved. You could say I am a different person. Story 15. Use 1 week of vacation to take every Friday off for a month during the summer. Story 16. I choose to focus on the positive aspects of my marriage. I am learning to communicate without anger or becoming overwhelmed. I have cut toxic family members out of my life. I spend time with my dad once a month to reconnect and strengthen our bond. I forgive myself for having abused my body with food so I can become healthier. I improve my life daily with small habits. Story 17. Stretching every day has helped a great deal. It does not always have to be a lot. Story 18. A few things I am focusing on. I took up running. Not everything at work is an emergency. Slow down and respond to emails or calls when you have time. I do not drink alcohol during the week. Lately, I only drink on Saturdays, and even then no more than 3 drinks. I am working on reducing screen time. I started reading more last year and took up fishing. I have a child, and I do not want his memory of me to be my face looking at a phone instead of him. Story 19. I have made several important changes lately. I stopped drinking alcohol. My body feels better and I have more fun without it. I started getting enough sleep by establishing a healthy bedtime routine and using tools that help me sleep despite insomnia. I started exercising every day. The serotonin it produces helps me get through the day even though I dislike it. I drink enough water. I did not realize how much of my daily discomfort was due to dehydration. Story 20. I set my iPhone to accept calls only from people in my contacts. Do I miss an occasional call I need to take? Yes. They leave a message and I call them back. If it is a business or organization I deal with semi-regularly, I add them to my contacts. The important thing for me is that I receive zero spam or scam calls anymore. Well, none that ring through. On average, I was getting more than 30 of them every day. I am much happier with this setup. Story 21. A few months ago, I picked up one of those inexpensive floral bouquets while on a grocery trip. I enjoyed arranging them, smelling them, and watching them bloom over the next 10 days. On my next trip, I bought another, and now on every grocery trip I buy myself a $7 to $12 bouquet. I trim and rearrange them, including last week's blooms that are still in good shape, and I envision having a sunroom or greenhouse to grow flowers in the future. It brings me an inordinate amount of joy. Story 22. I am using the Kindle I inherited from my mother. I had stopped reading, but my love of reading has been reignited. It has also reduced my other screen time significantly, which can only be good. Story 23. I have a daily fruit smoothie. I used to eat no fresh fruit. I no longer fall asleep at my desk at midday. Story 24. Lifting weights was hard at first, but now I see the benefits. Story 25. I finally, at 78 years of age, admitted that I was gay and found a very nice friend with benefits my age. We get together once or twice a week, have great sex for a couple of hours, then go to lunch and talk. I am immensely happy. Story 26. Before my feet hit the floor in the morning, I forgive everyone I need to forgive so I can move on and not carry baggage from relationships. It really starts to work after a while. Story 27. I enjoy my morning coffee in bed on a fuzzy pillow, wrapped in a fleece blanket, and wearing warm socks. I started doing this about 4 years ago during the worst and darkest months of my life as a way to find strength for the day. So much was out of my control, but being wrapped in comfort for that short time let me feel something good. I still do it, even though those difficult days are behind me. I give that advice to friends and family when their world is upside down. You cannot underestimate the power of feeling softness when everything else feels so hard. Story 28. Walking and running helped me. When the pandemic hit, I returned to the Netherlands after 6 years living in the United Kingdom. Going from being extremely busy to having plenty of time gave me the idea to start. Short walks grew into 2-hour walks, and 3-kilometer runs became rounds of 18 to 22 kilometers. I lost 15 kilograms in the process, and my mind is zen after running or walking. Now, for years later, I'm still going strong, although a bit less than before. Story 29. Whenever there's a buy one, get one free offer on cat or dog food at my local grocery store, I buy some. When I have several, I deliver them to a local shelter. They are always grateful and I feel wonderful. Story 30. I stopped drinking every day. Don't get me wrong, I'm not completely sober, but I feel much better during the week. My bank account appreciates it too. Story 31. Coming to terms with clothes I no longer wear, for whatever reason, and donating them to shelters. Story 32. I've been doing do-it-yourself house projects. The landlord finally installed new carpet after more than 11 years, and now I just want the rest of the house to look as nice as the floors. I'm having so much fun learning about different tools, materials, and more. It's so satisfying to remove an old quarter round. Story 33. I smile to myself. Smiling randomly really helps. Story 34. Being very organized and having a routine relieves so much mental load. I prepared and planned everything, so all I need to do is be somewhere at a certain time. I found that much of my depression and anger in previous years was due to an inability to control my seemingly chaotic environment. Once I became proactive about controlling it, The pieces fell into place like Tetris. Story 35. I tell myself I love you, baby girl, and you are so beautiful. I am much happier, and when I look in the mirror, my heart feels full. Story 36. Not giving a fuck. I don't mean complete apathy. I mean not trying to solve problems that are not mine. Story 37. Making my bed may seem small, but it sets the tone for the day by giving me one simple accomplishment to start with. Story 38. Giving myself permission to spend entire days in my pajamas on the weekends. I do not know why I felt the pressure to be so active on my time off. Pajama days are the best. Story 39. I now make my bed every morning. It only takes 5 minutes, and at night, when I'm ready for bed, it makes me feel a little happier, like staying in a hotel. Story 40. I developed the motto, sometimes you just need a cookie. When I am stressed, angry, or very busy, I take the time to sit down and eat a cookie. I savor it and use that small bit of downtime to relax and de-stress, even for a minute. I focus on the cookie, not the problems. In my opinion, you cannot really be in a bad mood while eating a cookie. Story 41. Writing a daily log is strange. It makes you feel like you are a lighthouse keeper in the middle of the Atlantic. It is quaint and surprisingly peaceful. Story 42. It is surprising how simple advice can actually make you feel better. Basic habits like drinking sufficient water, eating 3 meals a day, and taking nature walks really do help. These are things you may have heard your whole life and dismissed, but they make a big difference. If you do not like plain water or get bored of it, add fresh fruit. I add lemons, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, or any fruit I can find. Feels like a fancy drink, but it is just water with fruit. Story 43. I stopped watching the news, unfollowed several entertainment blogs, started taking morning walks, and I treat myself to a donut once or twice a week. I would not say I am happier, but I am definitely in a better state of mind and feel a lot lighter. Story 44. I clean my room every week. I used to clean it only when I felt like it, but the consistency of weekly cleaning brings me happiness whenever I enter. Story 45. I started learning the names of the plants and birds I see every day. It sounds dumb, but I live in a metro area and had been treating the nature around me like visual white noise. Once I learned the names of what is around me, I began to see it, and then I saw it everywhere. That noticing has enriched my life. I love walking past a bush and thinking forsythia, like it is a friend I recognize. It makes me feel like I am part of my environment rather than just existing inside it. Story 46. A consistent sleep schedule seems obvious, but it is something many of us know we should improve. It makes a noticeable difference in how easy it is to wake up and feel energized first thing in the morning. Story 47. I started talking to myself like a human being. I didn't realize how hateful I had been to myself. It was all in my head. My inner voice was cruel. Story 48. I tend to procrastinate. I know enough about myself not to let things pile up, because then they seem insurmountable, but it still happens. What I have learned is to prioritize, not by doing the most important or time-sensitive tasks first, but by starting with 1 or 2 small, easily accomplished, and not too time-consuming tasks. Knocking those off quickly builds momentum and makes it easier to move on to the larger tasks. Story 49. I go to the gym 4 times a week. I hated the idea at first and was terrible at it. After 6 weeks, I am seeing and feeling the results. I am lifting heavier weights and looking forward to my workouts. Story 50. My workplace started offering free yoga classes during 2 lunch breaks per week, and it has been a game changer for my mental and physical health. My workdays feel much less stressful, my back pain from sitting and standing all day is almost gone, and I even have the energy to go to the gym and exercise more after work. Story 51. Hiring someone to clean my place every 2 weeks has made me a lot less stressed out. Story 52. I started logging everything I eat on the Lose It app. I had been struggling to lose 20 pounds for months. I was very careful, but the weight was not budging. Then I started tracking every single bite with the app. I weighed and calculated everything I ate, So no more random snacking because I was too lazy to estimate how many calories are in a handful of my mother's homemade granola. I lost 7 pounds in 2 weeks. My clothes are more comfortable, and I am happier, even though I am often hungry. Story 53. Paying bills first and clearing every debt, doing unpleasant chores as soon as possible. It feels much lighter to get things done and then enjoy the rest of the evening in near total peace. I hate debt. It is an anathema and feels like a millstone around my neck. Story 54. I clear the kitchen and bathroom counters before bed. Waking up to open, usable space is a big plus. Story 55. I brought my son a dog when he was struggling after lockdown. It helped him almost instantly, and I did not realize how much the dog helped me as well. Being around animals and nature is greatly underestimated as a cure for the modern world's detachment, or rather its attachment to meaninglessness. Story 56. Not staying in bed all day. I am recovering from a compound fracture of the femur above a replaced knee 1.5 years postoperatively. Once I was finally able to get up and move, most of the clouds lifted. I think this applies to anyone. Story 57. I at least clean my sink before bed. My wife and I used to fill the sink until it was full enough to load the dishwasher, then wait to see who would load it first. It is surprisingly quick to load and unload the dishwasher every night, and mornings are much nicer. Story 58. Going to bed early and getting up early has a massive impact. Story 59. I scream while driving alone. It does not have to be a classical scream. It can be a bellowing ooh, a playful woo-hoo, or, my personal favorite, a high-pitched "oo." It is a good outlet, and I usually feel happier and revved up when I reach my destination. Story 60. I realize life is a zero-sum game. The problem is we are constantly told about the sum and not the zero. This perspective helps me accept fate, avoid emotional entanglement, and bear the tragic nature of life without romantic masking or pretending it is something it is not. Story 61. I started making music and videos as a hobby. It has been fun to express myself creatively, but getting people to listen and care has been a whole other challenge. It has felt like a test to see whether I could do it and what it would sound like. Story 62. I get audiobooks for free from my library app and listen to them during my commute and while doing chores like washing dishes and folding laundry. I never had time to sit and read, but this way I can listen to books on the go. I read 4 books in 2021, 2 books in 2022, and 4 books in the first 6 months of 2023. After I discovered audiobooks, I read 17 books in the last 6 months of 2023. This year looks even better. I am already on my 4th book since New Year's. Story 63. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. It lets 2 calls back to back go through in case it is an emergency, but I realized I was stressing about making sure I got back to someone right away. If it is a text, it can wait. I force myself not to listen to news or videos at certain times and instead listen to music. Essentially, I schedule relaxing time. Going for walks in nature is the best strategy. I also force myself not to look at my phone. Every bit of technology is screaming for our attention at every moment. If you are always focused on something, you are actually never focused on anything. Times when I am bored are great for recalibrating my brain, which is affected by attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Story 64. A very common tip I heard from therapists and counselors is to make my bed in the morning. I started this routine around this time last year, and it made a surprisingly large difference to my mood. It helps get me moving and is a small, easily achieved accomplishment. When I return to my room later, I feel rewarded by entering a clean space that I have made. It does not make me drastically happier or make me want to celebrate every morning, but I do feel better about myself in several ways. Story 65. Finding something or someone to be grateful for every day. Accepting the people and things in my life as they are right now. Story 66. Take bubble baths more often, with candles, oils, and other fun additions. Story 67. I safeguard my sleep with an iron fist. Iron is a helpful supplement for me. Story 68. Taking a moment to smell the coffee brewing solves all problems. Story 69. Weaned off caffeine. When I was a teenager, I drank energy drinks and coffee. Around ages 18 to 20, I drank a lot of coffee because I worked at a coffee shop. After quitting my job, I was too cheap to buy good coffee, so I made black coffee at home. Then I started drinking black tea. I am currently pregnant and had just run out of black tea. And because I am moving, I did not buy more. I switched to green tea, then decided to drink only ginger tea and other caffeine-free teas. I feel much more stable, and plain water is the best thing for reliable energy. Story 70. I am doing dry January. I am using social media less and reading more. My sleep quality has improved as a result. Story 71. One small habit that has significantly increased my happiness is practicing daily gratitude. Every day, I take a few moments to reflect on the positive aspects of my life and express gratitude for them. Whether it is the support of loved ones, the beauty of nature, or personal achievements, acknowledging these things regularly has shifted my focus from what I lack to what I have. This simple practice has created a more positive mindset and helped me find joy in the small moments. Story 72. I quit drinking, and so far it's been the best decision I've ever made. Story 73. Not worrying about work. I lost my job for no reason, so I am not worrying about the reasons. That did not help. I realized these companies are largely uncaring. I do my work, avoid stress, and avoid causing problems. Whether I work very hard or not, it does not really matter. Someone in an office in San Francisco, New York, or Ontario will see me and my group as figures on a spreadsheet and determine what happens regardless of what I am doing. At some point, I may end up on a different spreadsheet or not. Story 74. House chores and a life without social media or constantly checking my phone. Story 75. I've started going to the gym with my best friend after work. I get to see her and maintain my physical health. I wasn't consistent before. Now I have someone to laugh with and who motivates me. Story 76. I listen to jazz or classical music when I want to focus, whether working or relaxing. I cannot work in complete silence. This ambience provides soothing sound without lyrics that make me sing along, unless it's Frank Sinatra. Story 77. I have started sleeping in on Sundays. After I walk my dog, I go straight back to bed. Story 78. I take Epsom salt baths and let myself soak for a while. Feels so good, especially in these cold winter months. Story 79. I clean the kitchen at night instead of waiting until the next day. Waking up to a clean kitchen makes starting my day, packing my kids' lunch, making breakfast and preparing coffee much easier when there are no dishes from the night before and no random items on the countertops. Story 80. I wake up early and follow a morning routine. I shower, do my skincare routine, make a nutritious breakfast, take a 15 to 20-minute walk, spend time with my dog, make hot tea, and ease into the morning. Story 81. Saying no. I used to be terrified that people who asked me for things would not want to be around me if I did not bend over backwards for them, even though nobody ever did that for me. Once I started saying no, it was liberating, and people did not dislike me for it. Story 82. I took vitamin D supplements after blood tests confirmed a deficiency. Story 83. Doing my makeup in the morning and taking pride in how I look, even when I am working from home, makes me feel more confident and happy. Story 84. I am forcing myself to do more arts and crafts. I have been in a creative slump for a long time. It is still difficult at times to be creative, but when I am doing it, it makes me so happy. Story 85. I will take it into consideration. Thank you. Use when someone gives unsolicited advice and will not drop the issue until you concede their point. Story 86. I started declining invitations I did not want to attend, such as going out with people I do not like, large social events with many expectations, and activities with friends I would not enjoy if they were not going. I used a simple response. No thanks. I do not actually feel like it for a personal reason. No excuses, no lies such as that day is my grandmother's birthday, no fake statements such as I wish I could. Being in control of my free time and learning to say no without providing further explanation has done wonders for my mental health. Story 87. I deleted Facebook a few years ago and do not miss it at all. It actually helps my mental state. Now, if I could do something about Reddit. Story 88. I started reading on my couch and enjoying a cup of coffee every morning before work. For a long time, I tried to get back into reading, but I only read when I was in the mood, which was rare. Then I would realize it had been weeks since I picked up the book. After I started drinking coffee last year, I decided to try reading right before I began work. It was easy because I work from home and did not have to get ready. I started doing this a few months ago, and with a few exceptions, I have done it every morning. I have finished 5 books and I am on my 6th. Finding a routine that worked has made me very happy, because I had always struggled to focus on things I wanted to do. By making it a routine, I have been able to pick the hobby back up, and I am doing it now more than ever. I can apply the same approach to other hobbies and tasks I want to do regularly. Story 89. I often felt overwhelmed by a dirty kitchen and a large pile of dishes after cooking. I made it a habit to clean as I cook. The task became much more manageable when I finished, and I could enjoy my meal instead of stressing about the mess. Story 90. Realize that, in the end, most matters are small. Do not stress. Things will play out as they are meant to. Only you, acting logically rather than emotionally, can change the outcome, but your ability is limited. Some things happen regardless of your intentions. Story 91. I try to stop judging people by reminding myself that I do not know their story. Being more understanding and empathetic has lifted a huge burden from my heart. Story 92. I'm lucky enough to live 3 blocks from the beach. The Jersey Shore is not what you think it is. I go for a beach walk almost every day and collect stones, sea glass, shells, and anything else that brings me a little bit of joy. Story 93. I no longer allow people to make me feel guilty for everything. I realize that I can say no, and if they really care about me, they will be okay with it. I used to run around stressing myself out, trying to do everything for everyone. I was so miserable and an anxious mess. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.